Wow. What's going to happen if and when the sea snake returns, if he's still alive? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, Entertainment and Media. First of all, please like this video, please share it, and please subscribe to my channel if you see fit. And also, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I am also a writer with 2 blogs, and I'm working on my own book, which I've discussed a little bit on this channel and which I will discuss a little bit more going forward. But this video involves the House of the Dragon. So this is going to be a reaction video to season 1, episode 8 of House of the Dragon. And as I was thinking about what to say about episode 8, I had my own takeaways from it and my own impressions and thoughts. But I'm gonna briefly, just briefly, I'm gonna read a reaction article, and then I'm gonna give my reaction throughout, and then I'll wrap this up, and it'll be over. But there was a lot in every episode, in every Game of Thrones episode, in every House of the Dragon episode. The dialogue is so intricate, and you really have to lean forward and listen to what they're saying, because if you miss something, you might miss an important detail or an important plot twist or an important uh, uh, conspiracy between one group and the other. So it's just there's just a lot. So I'm gonna do this. You notice I'm doing this one in StreamYard. I didn't realize that you can create content in StreamYard without going live, so this has actually become quite handy. Anyway, so I'm going to enable my screen share. We're going to read through this recap. There are spoilers in here, so if you haven't watched it, there are spoilers. So let's talk about it. Episode 8. All right. So this comes from IGN. And it's entitled House of the Dragon, Episode 8. House of the Dragon, Episode 8 review. A further jump, a further time jump, more recasting, and another barnstorming family reunion. These Targaryens have hit their stride. Yeah, so unlike the Game of Thrones series, they are really jumping ahead time-wise. So you have a certain set of actors for a certain period of time, and then you have another set of actors and actresses for another period of time, and they're just jumping us forward. Some have made the journey throughout up to this point, but some of the key actors like Rhaenyra, and we saw it with Laenor, uh, Lady Laena, Alicent Hightower. Their parents have, well, aside from Viserys, I'm going to talk about poor King Viserys shortly, but many of the parents have visually remained the same, but the children have grown up, and that's necessary for this plot line and to, I think, advance everything they want to advance in the story. All right, this was written by Helen O'Hara, and once again, warning: the below contains full spoilers for House of the Dragon episode 8, which aired on HBO on October 9th, 2022. To refresh your memory, check out our review of last week's episode. Okay, so it looks like they do this weekly. Okay. More than 6 years have passed on Westeros. Oh, there's a little advertisement for Wakanda Forever, now featuring Shuri instead of T'Challa, and also Namor, the Submariner. Anyway, more than 6 years have passed on Westeros as a minor question of estate law becomes a kingdom destabilizing event on the latest House of the Dragon. The good news is that that's cue for another emotional family reunion, though the dominant emotions are suspicion, fear, and anger. Yet amid all the chaos, there are reasons to hope for reconciliation among the warring relations, even if they don't last long. It's the hope that kills us once again. We open this week behind the driftwood throne where Rhaenys sits. Her husband, Corlys, also known as the Sea Snake, has been away voyaging since the death of his children, and now he's seriously injured following a pirate attack on his way home. Yeah, he can't seem to stay away from those stepstones. I think it was the stepstones. They killed the crab feeder several episodes back, but according to what they said in the show, the crab feeders people, their numbers have returned. So Corliss is having a hard go of it, man. I mean, his two of his children died, and then as we'll describe, as this article will describe, and as I'll describe, there's suspicion that his grandchildren via Rhaenyra are not necessarily Valerians via the bloodline. All right. Anyway, more than 6 years have passed on Westeros. No. Okay. Let me go down. We open this week behind the driftwood throne where Rhaenys sits. Her husband, Corlys, also known as the Sea Snake, has been away voyaging since the death of his children, and now he's seriously injured following a pirate attack on his way home. The question of this succession, a name that this show probably deserves more than the other one at this point, therefore arises because his brother Vaemond claims his seat on the grounds that he argues Rhaenys and Corlys' son left no true born heir. So they set this up in the previous episode, or maybe it was the episode before that, where so Rhaenyra, she was having relations with another gentleman, and everyone can see the children do not look like Laenor. So everyone's saying those are not his children. So anyway, shots fired. Once more, the legitimacy of Rhaenyra's elder children is called into question. Vaemond pledges to bring his petition to the king, more to the point, to the realm's effective rulers, Queen Alicent and the Hand, Lord Otto Hightower. So he's back as the king's hand. They have no reason to be friendly to Rhaenyra or her son's claim, as the health of King Viserys fails. Rhaenyra and her hubby Daemon, who is Viserys' brother, this is complicated, scramble to King's Landing to meet this challenge, and we get yet another family gathering that devolves into accusations, acrimony, and at one point a near brawl. It's a stacked deck for this week's director, Geeta V. Patel, and she plays her cards well. Viserys, I don't know if George R. R. Martin covers this in the books, but Viserys is aging badly. In this one, we see, well, he's already lost his arm. He had the wound on his back. Now he's completely bald. They have to cover up the side of his face. When they remove the covering, you see that he's lost an eye. So he's got the socket there, like Sam Neill in Event Horizon. And this side of his jaw is kind of atrophied away, so you can see the muscles in his jaw. It's like, what's happening to this guy? I say just let the poor guy die at this point, because it's painful watching Viserys every week. Maybe next week he'll be out of his misery. After such a long gap, we get a nimble look at how the family's different branches have evolved. Rhaenys is handling Driftmark capably, it seems, and raising Daemon's daughter, Baela. Rhaenyra and Daemon appear happy on Dragonstone too. She is overseeing High Valyrian lessons for her son, Jacaerys, and pregnant with a third child by Daemon after the twins Aegon and Viserys. Daemon himself, on this evidence, spends his time clambering about in search of dragon eggs. That's another thing I peeped. I thought one of Viserys' children was named Aegon. So does that mean Rhaenyra has her own Aegon? So there's going to be two Aegons, maybe battling for the throne. Because by right of succession, since she's the heir, one of her children will be the heir to the Iron Throne. It's very, very confusing. In King's Landing, things are less rosy. Viserys is sinking fast and dependent on milk of the poppy, just call it opium, to control his endless pain. Alicent's time is split between caring for him, ruling the kingdom alongside her father, and a newfound devotion to the worship of the Seven, whose seven-pointed star now appears all over the palace. Oh, and she has to take time out of her schedule to deal with her son Aegon's rape victims. What a prince. So I think George R. R. Martin in the Game of Thrones, the original series, we saw the High Sparrow. So we saw that element of a fanatical spirituality and religion. So I think maybe the uh, seven, the seven-pointed stars, the seven. Maybe that's what this will be. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking back to that episode, and I did see that imagery there. That's why this show is there's so many details and it's so intricate. It's like watching a Christopher Nolan movie in a way. Allison's meeting with the rape victim Diana is another insight into the deformation of her character by power politics. Yeah, she was such a sweetheart in the first couple of episodes. There's some natural feeling for the girl in her eyes, but her response comes straight from the hashtag #MeToo playbook of enablement. She pulls out classics like uh, quote slash believe you, but I worry that others won't, and reminds the poor girl that it's a prince's word against hers before administering money and essentially the morning after pill. I was watching that and wondering if that was some sort of concoction to kill the young girl, but it's a contraceptive. It was a contraceptive. That's followed by what appears to be a genuine effort to get Aegon back in line, but it falls on arrogant and deaf ears that don't immediately remember the incident she's talking about. He claims he's trying hard to live up to expectations, but there's little sign of any such effort beyond the fact that he dutifully married his backward sister Helena. Incest has its downsides. Okay. Rhaenyra, Daemon, and family therefore arrive to a deeply unstable situation. Rhaenys might be able to help them, though she doesn't fancy her chances, but still has a reason to believe that one or both of them killed her son Laenor, who is presumably still living it up somewhere across the seas. Well, he is, because we saw him leave at the end of the last episode or the episode before that. Like, he chopped off he did a full chop in terms of his hair. Rhaenyra offers to marry her sons to Rhaenys' granddaughters, a union where the father of both brides and a stepfather of both grooms would be one and the same, saving a fortune on wedding catering, but Rhaenys is initially unconvinced. See, this is very, very confusing. Vaemond, okay, here we go. Vaemond makes his claim confident of victory, but the hearing is interrupted by Viserys hobbling like Yoda from his bed after Rhaenyra begs her father to defend her. Egged on by a whisper from Daemon, Vaemond rashly condemns the three boys as bastards, and Rhaenyra is a whore. Pandemonium, at least for seconds before Daemon slices Vaemond's head clean through the ends and ends the discussion. Yeah, so yeah, I mean there are scenes during these series where just the violence comes out of nowhere. So this is a spoiler. Literally, Daemon tells Vaemond to say it, say it, say it. He calls her a whore. Viserys pulls out his dagger, says, "I'll cut your tongue out for saying that." And then seconds afterwards, you see Daemon literally slice Vaemond's head like this. So the top of the head falls to the ground and the rest of the body collapses. And you can see the tongue. You can see the tongue. And it's like, wow, did they really just show that? And they did. But the interesting thing about that scene to me was that there's almost a refusal to accept that Rhaenyra's kids are not they're not of Valerian blood. And well, clearly Damon wouldn't want to hear his niece wife being called a whore, and Viserys wouldn't want to hear that. But there's this, no, it can't be. It can't be. It has to be that they are of Valerian blood. So the truth, that story has to be upheld no matter what, even if it's untrue. And once again, that reminds me of current events, and it's eerily similar to things we've seen in our own world here. Certain stories have to be maintained to maintain society and to maintain order, even if they're a lie. Okay, let me finish this up. A few general points about this whole affair. Rhaenyra's plea to her father about the throne shows that she understands the perilous position she's in and is trying to reckon with it, something that has not always been obvious, but she still relies on the men in her family for support rather than trying to build her own wider power base. This is also a change from George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood, where Rhaenyra was reported to have dispatched Daemon to straight up murder Vaemond and take the tongues of family members who repeated this claim. Once again, the show is taking sides and creating a clearer set of good guys and bad guys. Vaemond isn't wrong in his contentions, and in fact, his claim harks back to the argument last time between Rhaenys and Corlys about whether name or blood matters most for a legacy. That might be why Rhaenys stands thoughtfully over Vaemond's body as the Silent Sisters prepare him for burial, or she might be plotting something less friendly than her public support for Rhaenyra. Yeah, so they show Vaemond's body kind of being treated, and the head being laying on the slab with the rest of the body. It's very, very uh uh yeah, lots of carnage in this show. Also worth noting is that awful Aemon Targaryen has grown up into a serpent-fast swordsman capable of beating Sir Creston to a standstill, and a laughably sinister bastard rocking a sort of evil Legolas look, Legolas look from The Lord of the Rings that makes him resemble an assassin in a cheap fantasy novel. He's clearly itching to challenge his uncle Daemon, who he stares fixedly at with one eye, but his most precise blow comes later at the family dinner that follows the presentation of Aemon's petition. Viserys wants his family to hug it out and bemoans their issues. The crown cannot stand strong if the house of the dragon remains divided. Set your grievances, set aside your grievances, if not for the sake of the crown, then for the sake of this old man who loves you all so dearly. He is answered by Rhaenyra, raising a grateful toast to her former bestie stepmother for the care of Alicent as shown to her father. Alicent responds in kind, as does Jace, despite taunting from the horrible Aegon. Yeah, so there you go. So there's one Aegon, and Rhaenyra has had her own Aegon. It's going to be funny to see how all this gets reconciled. Most likely, it will be in a bloody way. But after Viserys leaves, Aemon rises to give his own toast to his nephews, who he calls handsome, wise, and strong. The allusion to their parentage is naked but plausibly deniable, and the provocateur visibly thirsts for the excuse to duel Jacaerys or Lucerys. When Daemon gets in between them, Aemon backs down for now. So yeah, I think one of those boys slashed his eye, so he no doubt has revenge on his mind when it comes to them. Okay, this is the end of it here. But later that night, as a cloaked figure hurries to Mysaria to report all these events, a raving Viserys talks to his wife about the Song of Ice and Fire prophecy, and she misunderstands him in a way that may be significant. Viserys talks about two Aegons, Aegon the Conqueror, who made the prophecy, and the prince who was promised, the Aegon Targaryen, better known as Jon Snow. She thinks he means their son Aegon, the witless rapist they have raised. This may fuel her determination to protect her own son's interests following Viserys' death, and her seven-pointed star is on the rise. As we head into the season's two concluding episodes, Rhaenyra and Alicent's fragile detente seems unlikely to last. Okay, so that was a synopsis of the last episode. I actually made notes myself. I think I spoke them out as I was reading that, but there's so many details and the names. I'm gradually getting all the names myself, but I read this for myself and to give a nice synopsis of the show here for my subscribers. And also the ending. The ending had me kind of um because Viserys when he's going on, it's almost at a whisper, so you can't really hear what he's saying. So I had to rewind it to try to get what he was saying, and my conclusion was pretty much what the writer here said. Um, and I didn't know if they're alluding to the coming of the Night King and the White Walkers from the north, but I didn't quite understand what he was talking about when he said Aegon. There was a it seems an Aegon predecessor. Now one of their children is one of their children. I'm sorry, is named Aegon, and one of Rhaenyra's children is named Aegon. So again, this is all very. It can all get confusing after a while. Anyway, those are my thoughts and this writer's thoughts on episode 8. Let me know what you think in the comments section below about this episode and what you've seen in it in this season's entirety and what you think is going to happen going forward. Please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Those subscribers help out a lot. The likes help out a lot. You can even give it a thumbs down if you didn't like this. And also, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. And in addition to being a YouTube content creator, I'm also a writer with 2 vlogs and working on my own book. So with that, everyone, I'm going to conclude this. Stay safe out there. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.